Breaking news just detonated across the sports world, and the shockwaves are rattling every corner of the WNBA. Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner who was supposed to guard the league's integrity, has been arrested. The accusations? They're not small. They're not just about bad calls or botched leadership. They're about a cover-up so massive it could unravel the very fabric of women's basketball. And at the heart of it all stands Brionna Jones, the player with the receipts, the courage, and the fury to expose what insiders have whispered about for years. The story doesn't begin with Engelbert in handcuffs. It begins years ago when the league made a choice that would haunt it. Protect Brittney Griner at all costs. Even if it meant silencing voices, rewriting narratives, and sacrificing the careers of women who played by the rules. Griner was the face of the WNBA, 6 feet 9 inches, an Olympic champion, a dunking phenom, and a media darling. When she was arrested in Russia in 2022, panic erupted inside league offices. Without her, the WNBA had no storyline, no poster star, no anchor for its fragile popularity. That desperation to preserve an image is exactly what pushed Engelbert into the shadows of deception. Because while Griner was gone, someone else was rising. Brionna Jones wasn't just filling shoes, she was carving her own path to stardom. Most Improved Player in 2021. 6th Woman of the Year in 2022. Numbers that screamed starter, grit that electrified fans, and a style of play that made highlight reels pop. The Connecticut Sun rolled out campaigns with her face plastered on posters, fans rallied, and suddenly it looked like the league had a new heroine. Then, in 2023, fate struck cruelly. An Achilles tear ended her season in seconds. Tears streamed as teammates helped her off the court, and what looked like the beginning of a superstar era was replaced by silence. That silence became the perfect opportunity for Engelbert and the league to flip the script. Griner returned, and in the blink of an eye, Jones vanished from the spotlight she had earned. The cameras, the sponsorships, the storylines all rerouted back to Griner. And to rub salt in the wound, Brionna was traded to Atlanta, forced to share a front court with the very player she had proven she could outshine. The media spun it like a fairy tale, two dominant forces teaming up, a bird magic moment for the women's game. But fans saw through it. Brionna wasn't Griner's partner. She was being shoved into the role of sidekick. On paper, Griner praised Brionna every chance she got. She smiled for the cameras, dropped glowing compliments, and played the role of big sister. But behind the curtain, something darker brewed. The league wasn't just pushing Brionna into the background. They were erasing her. Promised interviews were cancelled. Media spots mysteriously disappeared. Endorsements she had already secured vanished into thin air. What looked like bad luck was beginning to feel like a coordinated blackout. That blackout is why Brionna finally spoke out. And what she revealed is shaking the sport to its core. According to her testimony, Engelbert didn't just protect Griner, she engineered a cover-up about her very identity. Medical leaks and insider whispers point to Griner not being biologically female, a truth Engelbert allegedly buried under layers of PR spin and sealed files. She silenced insiders, blocked records, and leaned on her power to make sure nothing cracked the polished image of the WNBA's golden child. The players were forced to line up next to someone who, under official guidelines, may not have even been eligible. That cover-up didn't just preserve Griner's career. It destroyed Brianna's. Because if Griner hadn't been shielded at every turn, if the league had let the truth play out, then Brionna would be standing today as the face of the WNBA alongside Caitlin Clark, leading a new era. Instead, Engelbert's gamble made Brionna collateral damage. And that betrayal is why Engelbert now sits in the center of a legal firestorm. But here's what's even wilder, the locker rooms aren't mourning her downfall. No tribute posts. No public support. Not even a polite thank you. The silence is deafening. And it says everything. Engelbert wasn't loved. She wasn't respected. She was feared. And now that the mask is off, no one's rushing to protect her. This scandal doesn't exist in a vacuum. Engelbert's failures were stacking long before Brionna dropped her bombshell. Remember the Clark vs. Reese storm in 2024? Caitlin Clark was hammered with racist dog whistles. Angel Reese was labeled too aggressive, too ghetto, too confident. It wasn't playful trash talk, it was hate, harassment, even threats. Players cried out for leadership. Fans waited for Engelbert to step in. And what did she do? She went on live TV and compared it to Magic vs. Bird, like the danger, the racism, and the threats didn't even exist. Smiling as if history was repeating itself in a feel-good sports highlight reel, while her players were living through hell. That's the moment insiders say the locker rooms lost faith for good. Engelbert didn't just dismiss racism. She spun paychecks into illusions. On CNBC, she bragged that WNBA players could make up to $700,000. It sounded groundbreaking, like equality was finally here. But players like Gabby Williams called her bluff, exposing how misleading those numbers were. Only a couple of stars could reach that figure, and only if you added in overseas gigs and endorsements. The average WNBA player? About $70,000. Barely survival wages compared to their NBA counterparts. Engelbert wasn't transparent. She was selling a fantasy, padding numbers to make the league look stronger than it was. And while the pay gap festered, the on-court chaos grew. Officiating reached such absurd levels that fans accused games of looking rigged. Players were shoved, hacked, even injured without whistles. Yet when Griner threw elbows and shoved opponents, refs went silent. One infamous game against Dallas looked more like wrestling than basketball, and the officials swallowed their whistles like they'd been ordered to stand down. Fans flooded social media. Why is this player above the rules? Why are they allowed to play unchecked? Engelbert never answered. That silence screamed louder than words. To players, it was proof that she would let the league burn before she let Griner fall. To fans, it was proof that the WNBA wasn't being built on fairness but on cover-ups. Now, with Engelbert in handcuffs, Brionna Jones has cracked the dam. And she's not stopping at the commissioner. Her testimony is pointing fingers higher up, hinting at names that have long been untouchable. If those dominoes fall, this won't just be a scandal. It'll be a reckoning. The WNBA will have to fight for its very survival. So here we are. A league once pitched as a rising star in women's sports now finds itself drowning in betrayal, secrecy, and anger. Engelbert gambled everything on protecting one image, and in doing so, she may have destroyed the very league she was supposed to protect.